Yeah, venerable sisters and brothers, Dhamma friends, today is the second day of our retreat, number 287. We are going to take time for the day's talk. May every one of you settle down for the talk and give the consent with 3 times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavatu arahato Samma sambuddhassa namo tassa bhagavato arahato Samma sambuddhassa namo tassa bhagavato arahato Samma sambuddhassa Katamo cha bhikkhave sugata vinayo Yo dhammang deseti adi kalyanam majje kalyanam paryosana kalyanam sattang savyanjanam kevala paripunnam parisuddhang brahmacharyam pakaseti ayang bhikkhave sugata vinayo ti. Dear venerable sisters and brothers, Dhamma friends, we are proceeding along this particular sutta known as Sugata Vinaya Sutta. You find in the Anguttara Nikaya, book of 4, and whereby the Buddha is initiating or opening the discourse, telling that as far as the teaching of the Buddha as well as the qualities of the Buddha is prevailing, that is good for many, and for the well-being of many, and for the compassion of the many, as well as one's own. Attaya, hitaya, sukhaya. Not only for human, but even for the celestial being. So this is a kind of a blanket approach about what the Buddha is and what Buddha taught. If someone is thorough about that not only for himself or herself, even for the whole world, inclusive of all the celestial beings, it brings so much of benefits. Therefore, it's a duty of the Buddha to introduce himself, because other people have that limited knowledge, partial knowledge. They can't completely comprehend the whole idea of Buddha. So therefore, who is the well-gone? Who is the fortunate one? Who is the pure being? The Buddha says, as we try to understand yesterday, occasionally, very rarely, is a person may arise on the earth. Arahang Samma Sambuddho is worthy person, is a pure person and fully enlightened being. Vijjachana Sampanno is skillful in theoretical understanding as well as behavioral patterns, theory and practice. Sugato, will go on. So after the dispensation of the Buddha, we are also trying our best to go to the destiny, and you see how many difficulties. Even the Buddha explained the path and revealed it, still we find to find the balance. So therefore we have so much of complaints. But throughout the ages, once he has taken the vow, he never complained anything. That is one of the greatest thing. No complaint, no demands. He is making use each and every chance to go to the destiny. That's what you call well gone. Sugata. And some people say it is well explained also. So therefore we being the daughters and the sons of the Buddha, we must not complain anything. It's dirty. It's inferior. And we must not demand anything. Because everything is given as far as here and now is concerned. If you wish to be here and now, what else lacking? Anything, all the complaints and all the demands what we are about to make, never disturbed here and now. So therefore, the Sugata is a very beautiful term, even though the Buddha is talking about the suffering as the first truth. His trip and his way of approach is such a beautiful thing. People can complain and say he's talking about the negative side of the life and the suffering, and many are not happy with it. All the other teachers are telling the beauty and all the kind of thing, love stories. But this is short to the point. But the way he traveled is Sugata. And Lokavidu, he is not aware of the India or the Indian culture, but he knows whole world system. And his rising, the appearance of the Buddha itself is phenomenal from the world system's point of view. So therefore he knew it's a kind of cyclic effect, and series of Dhamma happens, and occasionally the Buddha arises, and he knows Lokavidu. And today scientists, 60% are atheist, 60% theist, they are believing God, and 40% they are atheist. So believers of the God, they from Sunday morning to Friday evening, they don't believe, because at the laboratory they can't believe God. So believe God in the Saturday and Sunday. And again next Monday morning he became a scientist. So what a kind of mindset, what a kind of scientists, what a kind of syllabus we are following. So when His Holiness Dalai Lama went to the Harvard University, he told, I love science, but if you can please disprove what the Buddha is telling, I am ready to disrobe. I am giving you a challenge. And Richard Davidson, from the scientist point of view, he says, Dalai Lama being such a traditional person, he says, if someone can prove, I am going to disrobe. Who the scientist is going to say, if someone is going to disprove, I am quit the science, I will go to the other, never. Because they are in a kind of a game. But the Buddha is not. Lokavidu, everything he knows. And therefore, believers of other religion, it is not a problem for the Buddha. During the time of the Buddha itself, contemporary time, in the India, there were 6 other very famous teachers. He never downgraded them. He says, go and learn what they are telling. And whenever it happens, he referred to all the kind of 6 teachers. So therefore, he is not in a cult. He is not in blinkers. He is not narrowed down to the India. No. Lokavidu and Anuttaro Purisa Dhamma Sarati Satta. And anyone, if you wish to believe or anyone wish to be a disciple of himself, he is the best. Discipline is something, disciples are different. If any disciple is there, searching something, truth, in an honest way, there is no equal person. Anuttara. Satta Deva Manusana. Anuttaro Purisa Dhamma Sarati. He can lead them. And Satta Deva Manusana, not only the human, he can lead all the celestial beings also, because it is under his jurisdiction. But whenever science is going to define, it says only for the materialistic, pragmatic part. God and other things belongs to the church. Science is talking only the material, 3-dimensional things. So therefore science is cut and dry. So it went for the last 200 years, everyone believed. I also studied my school from the grade 8 onward, science subjects. We were considered better part of the school. Those who can't score up to the science, they will go to the commerce section, and the lowest will go to the art subject. That is the way at that time. To understand what a kind of a mirage, what a kind of a camouflage, what a kind of conspiracy theory, what a kind of hidden curriculum, It took me to the university, and the second year only, the glimpse came into my mind. But throughout I hate education. I now see, I can see. But the second year onward, when the mindfulness being introduced, I can see. They can't reach, they can't think about mindfulness, but it is not in our curriculum. Hidden curriculum is something different. So all the people going through the science, they will get the big shop and white collar jobs, and ultimately full of tension, full of frustration. Whatever the job in the education sector, presently, teachers 86% tension and frustration. We discussed, we dealt very closely with the Colombo area, first with the primary school teachers. The director came and told, then I told that I am aware of this hidden curriculum. What do you say? He says, can't help, we can't change it because education reform is happening. And I did the social survey and check all the teachers. There is not a single person without an uncontagious detrimental disease. 100% junior school teachers, the America it says, they have 73%, and 3 years time they quit the job. But they feel the tension. They feel the tension. I also felt in 1978, 79, and where I can see the Buddha is not limited to the science subject, not limited to the school sector, everywhere, even to the God. But being born Buddhist, how much we have been covered with the real truth, how much it is been taught in a wrong way, being a traditional Buddhist country. And so Buddha has not given any chance because of the authorities. They do not understand who the Buddha is, or they think they are the people teaching us the Buddha is. No. You have to go in search. And I think this is the best way. We are spending hours, we are spending days, we are spending years completely dedicated for the qualities of the Buddha. And we can see how happy we are, how simple we are, how sitting on the ground we are, how much we are depending on the other people, and how happily they come and treat us, whether you are ordained or non-ordained, because it's a very natural way, of course, under the Sri Lankan situation. And Devamanusana Buddho Bhagava. Buddha means he is awakened one. In Sinhala we call Prabuddha. Prabuddha means awakened. All the others are in sleep. They are in addiction. Majja Pamadattana. Not only the substance abuse. Everyone is in a conceit. Their own pride. They can't see through. They are very arrogant. More you learn, more you become arrogant. It says, for a joke, it says, if you get a BS, it's a bullshit. If you get a MSc, more shit. MS. PhD means piled deep and high. Or sometimes it says permanent head damage. It's very clear. If you as an undergraduate and if you go to the postgraduate, you can see the system. How dirty it is. You can see their discipline. You can see their way forward. Feel very sorry. So of course, with the idea of becoming a monk, only I did my postgraduate. It is just to while away time, not to marry, not to do a job. That is my purpose of doing postgraduate. I was very successful. So the Buddha is knowing everything. He says, but the way it is happening, so therefore we have to understand who the Buddha. But today we are going to say, the Buddha is telling, not only that, to understand the teaching of the Buddha, the discipline of the Buddha. So we think we got the MSc, we got the diploma, we got the basic degree, we got the PhD about the Buddhism and all the kind of thing. The best example, I am not hurting someone. Best example is go to Peradina University and see Pali and Buddhist department. What the kind of people. Contrast to that, there is a philosophy department. Completely taking the chance, and they are starting the meditation centers, calling teachers, and they do something. But the Pali and Buddhist sector, say the department, I associated them for 3 years continuously as an undergraduate, and people come from these departments, and I am just a beginner, so I was listening to them, how much they are pragmatic, how much they are applying what they are teaching. Only the philosophy department people do something practical, others they are just selling degrees, they are just selling diplomas, they are just selling PhDs. So I was utterly benefited because there were some pragmatic, very small units whereby they do once a week, they have a 1 hour discussion and 1 hour sitting. And we all are the same. So I felt what the science, so-called science I learned, and what is this in the practice. Easily you can understand. Easily you can understand what the kind of camouflage to cover this kind, this sort of, this is such a simplicity, such a under your very nose. The Dhamma is there, but the way it is being taught, completely put into the next life, completely put into the next Buddha to arise. And you are in the preliminary classes, you are in the Montessori class, waiting for the next Buddha to happen. But lucky enough, when the mindfulness went to the West, America and the Western countries, they took it in a pragmatic way, and they found more than anything in the Dhamma, mindfulness is the main thing. Upanisa say it in a very dramatic way, in a gist. He says, when I go to the West as a teacher, I can't say I am representing Buddha. But the Westerners are not happy, personal respect, paying respect to any person living. Of course, when the Sayadaw comes, we pay respect. But I never expect. Therefore, I go as a Dhammaduta, as a messenger of Dhamma. So I have to represent myself. I am representing Dhamma of the Buddha. But he says, I know very well, for within 10 days, within 3 days, within 7 days, I can't communicate all Dhamma. It's such a corpus callosum of knowledge, so how can I teach all Dhamma? Even though I am not representing the Buddha, or I am not going to teach them about the Buddha, he says, I am teaching the teaching of the Buddha. Then he says, I would say the 3 baskets there. So the Sutta Pitaka is the basic prescription you can find. So therefore I am limiting my teaching to the suttas, or rather discourses. Within that, there is one particular sutta known as Satipatthana Sutta. I believe that is comprising everything. Then I learned Chaityaṅgana Dhammacharya exam. For that, Satipatthana Sutta itself took 4 years. So can I communicate with you? All what I learned within the 4 years, I will try my best. I can't. But instead, I will try Satipatthana Sutta only sati. I will try to communicate only sati. In your language it is called mindfulness. I will try my best. So therefore I put everything into this sati. And of course he believed it and he tried to convince us also. But I had my doubt. Can we learn all the teaching of the Buddha by sati? So Sayadaw said, again and again he is telling, sati is the only thing, this comprises everything. And he says apamada, diligence, also another synonyms. So therefore apamada, sati, if you learn it, you are fairly approaching Dhamma. I am not telling you a comprehensive A to Z understanding, but very good access. So when I read the Dasuttara Sutta, whereby Venerable Sariputta is telling, Katame Dhamma Bahukaro. He is asking what is the most helpful Dhamma, single Dhamma. What is the Eko Dhammo Bahukaro? He never expect the answer from the audience. He himself is giving the answer, Appamado Eko Dhammo Bahukaro. The diligence, the vigilance is the one single Dhamma he knew from the Buddha, giving the maximum help. So therefore, even though if you have any idea about who the Buddha is, you have to understand Dhamma. And then here also the Buddha is giving his own definition. Whenever you are going to thorough with the Dhamma, so Dhamman deseti adi kalyanam majje kalyanam pariyosana kalyanam. Anyone who knows the teaching of the Buddha, he says adi kalyana, how you approach the early part of the Dhamma is very beautiful. Even though it is talking about the truth of suffering. So therefore, initial part of access or entrance is very beautiful. But today, whenever elderly people try to practice meditation, they start with Asubha Bhavana, Marananusati Bhavana, that means contemplation on the death and the 32 parts, contemplating on the parts. They appear like something that nearing death. It appears like something wrong with the life and kind of thing. Therefore, many think for the youngsters, meditation is not applicable. You have to be at least 60 plus to be a meditator. Because at the early part, you have to be entertained everything. So they do not know how to teach Dhamma, how to introduce Dhamma in a beautiful way. So people do not go to the temple. Even if at all they are going to see the girls or for the love affairs. That's what we did when we as young people. We are not going to see the Dhamma, beauty of Dhamma. We are going to see the lovers. So therefore, it was a great effort in 60s, 70s, 80s to present Dhamma to the youngsters, those who are inquisitive, in a beautiful way. And it is so difficult that is exactly the same. Soon after the full enlightenment, Buddha also had his own fair doubt. Should I teach Dhamma? Because people, they are not happy, they are not ready. So therefore, when we start the Nilambe and all the kind of thing, and of course, I am a jolly good man from the beginning, whether Dhamma is having or not. And then when I am practicing, when I start with mindfulness, it's very beautiful. Very beautiful. It's just like physics. Whenever your mind is going to the in-breath and out-breath, you know. If it is not going, you know. By going, if you are happy, you know. If you are not going and it is wandering, you know. So what else? But mindfulness, the way it is taught in the Satipatthana Sutta, in the traditional way, never it was pragmatic, never it was verifiable, never it was given with the then and their benefits. So therefore, Adi Kalyana is the how much you are lovable or pleasurable, how much is applicable to the young beginners. So when you are organizing a retreat, we are planning a retreat center. When we are organizing, when a newcomer comes, we have to make it completely palatable, completely transparent, completely something within your fingertips, this is what you have to do. We are not going to see your horoscope and asking whether you come from the last life as a monk or Buddhist or you are what age. You are nothing. That is not important. It is not applicable here. Because the mindfulness is, as I understand, it's a birthright. It's a birthright. It is nothing to teach. What we do here is catalyzing the same and try to be mindful, and you see it is nothing disturbing. Unless otherwise you misunderstand the mindfulness. Therefore, entering at the beginner's mind, and that's the same thing happened in the Mahayana tradition, the Suzuki, when he was borrowing the teaching of the Mahayana, Theravada, and wrote a book, Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. Not a single person from the West who do not know about that. But that book is so common. Have a beginner's mind, teaching is so applicable to the beginners. And our Lokahamtu used to say, you have to behave like a Adhikammika Vipassaka. Adhikammika means you are just a beginner. Your theory understanding immaterial. Whether you are a monk or a nun, immaterial. Everyone is having the same way. And when I read the power of mindfulness, Venerable Jnanaponicus, that was one of the best book I did, he introduced bare attention. That is not the mindfulness, still lower level, still the threshold, bare attention. I translated that into sati matre. This mere sati. Don't make it samma sati. Don't make it a religious sati. Don't make it any commitment. Whatever you do, be aware. But Bhikkhu Bodhi himself criticized it. Bhikkhu Bodhi himself criticized his teacher. The bare attention is not in the teaching of the Buddha. And later, the mindfulness introduced to the UK Parliament, and they stopped the Parliament for 5 minutes, all parties, about 5 years back, and they introduced mindfulness. They had the plan to go to the mindful nation in 1935. Introduced. And they did, I think by now, maybe 30 years of experimenting with the mindful, with the children. And they published a report telling, when you become mindful, you become closed inside. Or your relationship with others may get disturbed. From the Manori's point of view, autistic early signs. Ask Manori to speak and she will do. She won't talk unless otherwise I kick her. So when that happens, all in England understood. They are very keen, they are very sharp, but they become introverts. So one person wrote an article, the mindfulness must go with compassion. Mindfulness must go with loving kindness. So he found introduction of this bare attention is wrong, even though it is given by a very respectable monk, Venerable Jnanaponika, Bhikkhu Bodhi's teacher, like the beginner of the founder of the Buddhist Publication Society. So knowing that, the article went to Bhikkhu Bodhi. Because Bhikkhu Bodhi has criticized it. Then Bhikkhu Bodhi is telling me, I introduced him, I told the Bhante, I am teaching mindfulness to the youngsters, and we are making it beautiful, and we are teaching. But he was little doubtful at the beginning. He told, are you also going to do the mindful business Buddhism? Going to the dollar business? Going to sell the mindfulness? No, I told, no, we are doing completely volunteering system. So 2-3 years I went there, I showed some pictures and photos and videos to Bhikkhu Bodhi. I used to go there for 10-day retreats. Because he gave the full blessings for me. And then he wrote this article to me. He wrote, Dhammajiva, if you have not introduced loving kindness and if you do not introduce compassion, please consider this paper. So with that paper, immediately I had a retreat in Brisbane, and there we discuss about the Sati Sampajanya Sutta. Mindfulness of bare attention, the mindfulness of the clear comprehension. There Buddha says, the mindfulness is Adi Kalyana, the beginner's mind, mindfulness is okay. Even with the bare attention is okay. If at all, if it is coupling with something, it must couple with the wisdom. It must couple with clear comprehension. And it's very nicely mapped in the Power of Mindfulness book. Because at the beginning you have to give some half-boiled thing for the children or palatable thing for the children. Don't give high protein. Their digestive system is not ready yet. You have to give a liquid foods. And that is why it says Adi Kalyan. And when we give the mindfulness or when we give the bare attention to the retreatants, everyone will not pick it. That we can see by reading the interview reports. Some people don't get a glimpse. They are talking about cock and bull stories. They are not talking about how the mindfulness with the in-breath and out-breath, how the mindfulness with the left leg and the right leg, how the mindfulness with the eating and sleeping and all the kind of, they are talking this and that. For them, wisdom may be different meaning, and that may not be the case. The Buddha's understanding, he says, it must be beautiful at the beginning, not only that, in the middle also. That means whenever someone is going to take a practice of full-time meditation, or try to be a monk, or try to be a nun, then it also must be beautiful. It's beautiful, yes. Because you have your preliminary understanding with the bare attention and you apply everywhere. And you read Satipatthana Sutta, not a single posture, not a single aspect of your day-to-day life missed. Gate, tite, nisinne, sutte, jagarite, everything concerned, at last he says, while you are in the first job and the second job in the toilet, still you must be mindful. What a compassion you see. He's not taking it to the philosophy only. He's taking it to the day-to-day life. And once that is happened, you will take a serious consideration about your livelihood, about your way of life. And there also it must be very beautiful, not only in that the beginning. So, otherwise we can say, the people from the street, they we call andaputujana, they are blind people. And once you introduce mindfulness, when you incorporate it into your day-to-day life, you can see here and there, this part I can be mindful. This part is the most impossible part. And when it is happening, when you are introducing yourself to under the light of mindfulness, you can understand full-time mindfulness, full-time dedication. Is it pragmatic? Is it possible? Many will say no, because they say that present-day Buddhism is already dead and gone. No use of becoming a nun or monk. Only mentally upset people become monks and nuns. They are in the asylum. They are everyone is setting a bad example. So therefore, that is exactly the way, I am sorry to mention, Pali and Buddhist faculty of the Peradeniya University. When I was about to become a monk, and it happened me to go to the department for correction of some of the MSc theses, I was not doing MSc, and that lady came to know that I am going to become a monk. But I kept it hid. I never opened it. And she personally came and asked, don't please do it. You are just wasting time. I tried my best to hide. But she told, I have children like you. Don't be serious. Have you ever gone to the foreign countries? Have you got a wife? Then you will never think about becoming a monk. So I feel so sorry. Because she is talking with the utter compassion. But don't take seriously. Don't take seriously. I went to Venerable Dhammika and told Bande, this is the situation. He told that I told you, no? Don't let anyone knows that you are meditating. Don't talk about becoming a monk. So at last, it happened me to, tomorrow I am going to renounce. I mentioned to my brother, elder brother. He took a special meeting with the younger brother and go to a silent place. He told, oh my dear younger brother, you have something wrong in your mentality. Why don't you go to a psychiatrist? Then I don't know harm. I can go to the psychiatrist, but don't argue about what is the psychiatrist is going to say. You select the psychiatrist, you have to pay the transport and the bill. I will come. Because most of the psychiatrists are meditating with me in Kandy areas. So he told, no, I am telling you, why you are going to become a monk after getting so much of education and all the kind of thing? Something wrong. He's a communist. Because this is the world. When you are going to the second phase, you are going to take the second phase. Not a single person to bless you. Lay people is in a different camp. They are talking about their own rights. They are talking about all the kind of thing. I think they will feel the hell. And those who have taken, still not setting a good example. They are also always worrying, always this problem and that problem. So Venerable Dhammika asked me, have you seen ever a monk who is happy? Very, very rare. Very, very rare. That means that whenever you take it as your livelihood, when you are going to take it as a full time, when you are taking the sitting, walking kind of a timetable, can we still be happy? No. Your face is good for a funeral house. That's the way the yogis are. That's the way monks are. That's the way nuns are. Nuns are specific. Nuns are very, very notorious. I am doing it my first-hand experience. They don't know how to smile. They don't know how to be beautiful. They don't know how lucky we have. We have gone through the first stage and we are taking with my own consent. It's beautiful. So that become beautiful because you are no more an Andha Putujjana. You are not a blind person. Now you are Kalyana Putujjana. You see theoretically this is the path. Do you know theoretically this must be your mindset? And you are theoretically as a practical, you know, here and there I have glimpses. There's a power line. Whenever power line straighten, transmission happens. So it is your common sense to make the power line straighten and then it happens. Because it is Dhammata, it is not you, it is not your wish. It is happening. So therefore you feel like taking it as a, full time. So Majje Kalyana. And that is what I try to explain in the first day itself. If ever you came to know that I can keep the breath in face to face, maybe 8 cycles, 9 cycles, 10 cycles, 10 seconds, 10 minutes like, then that means I would say you are in the Majje Kalyana, because the avenuing face to face with breath is extraordinary thing. It's a neutral thing. It's a recurrent thing. Our parents are not teaching us. The army is not gearing for that. But the Buddha is telling, and you practice, and when you comes to know, then you have to understand, in the samatha way, we try to keep it in vivid as long as possible. So therefore you have that objective in the same posture, same object and face to face it. But it becomes beautiful if you can see the evolution of the breath from first breath to second breath, third breath, fourth breath, the chronological changes. Then there's a completely different thing. You are not going to fixate the breath. You are observing how it is changing as the time passes. So therefore you have to not only just to keep the face to face it, you have to be immediate with the breath. You have to come closer and closer, just like a radar beam, understand it, and there you may see breath is not a one unit. It is not a one function. It's 1,001 breathing, small breaths are coming like and then appear like, we call it as a breath. Like a staircase. When you are climbing, go by step by step by step. And out-breath also, not a single action. It's a series of action. When you are raising the hand and we are closing the hand, who Pandita Sayadaw used to say, you are looking at a cartoon film. And you see, when the cartoons, they are just pencil lines. When she is running in a proper 1,500 rounds per minute, it animates. You feel like a person is moving. But what happens if you go to slow motion? One slide and then again little different slide and again different slide. In between two slides, darkness. Please remember. In between two slides, darkness. Within the darkness, you manipulate. This is the same thing, change into this thing, and it is changing in two ways. It is changing in the shapes and the manners. Only two things. That is the point where Majjhe Kalyana is going to happen. You become very, very scientific. You are not only just observing it, you are waiting any changes to happen. Sounds may come and disturb, pain may come and disturb, thoughts may come and disturb, and mindfulness itself will be heightened or low down, and the breath also will be very gross, medium, subtle. And still, if you are not only look at and if you are to go through it, you must have special alignment, special focus and special power line arrangement, and there you can understand, occasionally it happens. When it happens, you are not see the face value of the breath. You can see what is beyond. And that's the point only human can do. All the other animals, all the other people can see the face value. And you can see the shape, no harm. And you can see the manners. That's why when you are looking at a girl, you are look at the shape and the manners before the marriage. And the boys, toward the boys all the same. That is what in the traditional way it happens. But why they become divorced? Few days time. Like they are going to have an intimate relationship, some other aspects are there. So today, more than marriages, the divorces are registered. It's such a joke. Human beings created this institute of the marriage, but today marrying, after the one's first child, they are divorcing. Because the shape and manners is not enough. But this is the only way forward. So you are looking at the breath. You can either explain it in the long breath, short breath, or it is happening in a gross way or subtle way. Buddha understood 11 dimensions. The breath beginning the present, past and the future. Gross and the subtle, near and far, internal and external, desirable and undesirable. So when you consider these 11 dimensions, of course the present day quantum physicists also talking about the 11 dimension. I don't see any relationship. We, in the conventional way, we are happy with 5 dimensions and we are rejecting 6 dimensions. So therefore breath is overall negative. But if we are about to see all the 11 dimensions, each and every breath is the Buddha. Each and every breath is teaching you, with sounds and without sound, with thoughts and without thoughts, with pain and without pain, gross breath, subtle breath. And you are just like a newly born baby, you are observing it. So that beautiful. The middle of the teaching is beautiful. Once enter into the house, now you are looking at each and every room. Imagine you are entering into a museum. You are looking at, and each and everyone is talking about the different cultures and different civilizations. There's so much of information. So you can go into as you like. But still, it does not indicate you have to learn everything and you have to by heart everything. You understand the face value is something, but if you penetrate into it, completely different thing. What you imagine about the job, what you imagine about the marriage, what you imagine about the promotion is one thing. Once you married, once you promoted, still the hell. But you think it is something wrong and next thing I will do it, something like. So, but in the meditation, you are dealing with only the breath. You have so much of dimensions. And how long will it take you to understand? It is not the 11th dimension of the breath. It is 11th dimension of your observing mind. As your mind change, as your mind metamorphosize, as your mind evolve, it is talking of different breaths. So within few minutes time, for a senior yogis, few minutes time you can see different shapes, different manners, but still he don't hesitate, he do not take any decision, he says, please continue. Then you can see the mind nature and the physical nature of the object, they just slowly try to merge each other. Mind also a phenomena, observed thing also phenomena. So when they are coming to the same RPM, revolution per minute, they clutch together. That is called Sabhava Lakshana. The observing mind and observed objects, they merge each other just like a clutch plate in a vehicle. Imagine a C90 bike, the clutch plate is happening in the oil base. They are not touching each other. High viscous oil is rotating, so the driven pulley and the drive pulley going to work in the same speed. So there you are no more. You can understand the worldly phenomena. This is how it happened with respect to the breath and with respect to the others also. When you are walking and when you are doing other things also, you can understand where the inferential knowledge, the deductive knowledge is very important. You are thorough about one thing and you know it is just a representative of the whole world. If you know the breath, you know the whole world. Instead of going to the orbits, you can go inside. So then the Majjhe Kalyan. It's a vast area. The Buddha completed that whole universe in and out materialistic mentality. Venerable Sariputta comprehended within the Indian territory, he was thorough. But the others were not. They were thorough very limited area. Because their jurisdiction is very big. So therefore he can apply, he can be with any person, he can accommodate anything, because he has done the contemplative analysis of many things. So we have our own characteristic underlying tendencies, we have our own directed dispositions. So therefore as we keep on spreading our mindfulness just like an ink drop, if you give a ball, the fountain pen on a blotting paper, you can see drop happen and then slowly increasing. That's what you call the ink drop system. So likewise it is spreading. Not only within yourself, it is spreading to the others also. There you understand the emotional literacy. You understand the person next to you is maybe inefficient in the meditation, but the phenomena is the same. Even if you are sitting with the Buddha, you understand this is exactly what happens. So therefore comprehensive and the deductive knowledge is going to happen. You have to let it happen very slowly. Don't try to push it. Only thing is you have to understand how to get into the object, how to be face to face with, and more you keep it, it is spreading happen. That is happening in another chemistry, another physics. So when it happens, we become a member of a conscious army. Anyone who is practicing on the earth become the fellowship, become the membership, because same vibration. We are not worried by the face value. We try to see through and go, when you go more and more inside the ball and you come to the center, there are pure beings are there. And the Buddha says, Pabassaramidam bhikkhave cittang, agantuke upakkilitte upakkilittang, tang asutavato putujjano nappajanati. Tassa asutavato putujjanassa samadhi bhavana natti iti vadami. Oh monks, your mind is a very lustrous, it's a pure thing. But it is smeared with little dust, with the greasy. So therefore don't think it is everything is dirty. If you think everything is dirty, your meditation is a failure. If you know it is just a paint, maybe 1 angstrom of the thickness, and inside is so lustrous. Each and every being is something like that. But the external thing is accumulated paint, accumulated dirty. So therefore don't worry about that. Don't worry about the face value, just penetrate through. Then you find each and everyone is good. And that is being expressed by Karl Marx. Each and every human beings are good, but they are bad because of the class system. Isaac Newton is telling, when the things are moving the space, they are very straight. They never have curvature. Unless otherwise hit with something. If you hit, there is a reaction equal and opposite. So when we are moving in the space, we are straight. That is the nature. The Buddha says, your mind is so pure, so lustrous. But your dirty mind is so superficial, it sees only the dirty. Only the grease. And you guess others are also the same. But instead, when you become Majjhe Kalyana, you go to your purity. With the help of the Buddha and the teaching, you find, oh, what a blissful thing the earth is. What a blissful thing is to become a human. And therefore you feel like sharing it. You feel like, why you people are so shallow? Why you people are so superficial? Yes, superficial it is dirty, yes. But you can penetrate through. And once you understood the shape, the manner and the natural characteristics, then you see everything is changing. Nothing, not a single pinhead type of a thing permanent. Even if you wish to have a permanent wife and permanent husband, permanent house, permanent identity card, permanent bank account and all the kind of thing, one day you have to go. I am sorry. I am not cursing. It is the truth. Not a single pivotal point. Then once that is understood, he says, if you are going to fix a pivot, if you are going to fix a benchmark, there the tension arises. By meditation, passing the shape and the manner and natural characteristic, you comes to know the santati, the flux. Some people go mad. Go mad because they thought that the world is such a hard and fast thing, and if I can have 1 acre of land, 1 acre of land is 1 acre of land. Why not I have 2 acres, 3 acres? But the day you understand everything is like a landmine, it's about to burst, so many can go mad. So one person came to the Venerable Jnanarama and asked that, Bhante, I am not meditating, I am sorry. I am a disciple of you, I am not interested, but I know you are a very good teacher. But many people go mad by meditating. What do you say? He says, yes, it is not the people go mad by meditation, but it says mad people are meditating. They found very easy to go to a meditation center and claim, I can see everything is changing, why can't I have that, blah, 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 blah. So they are in the medical meditation report, they are giving so much of grandeur talks, but they don't know how to keep the breath in view with. They don't know how to walk, left leg, right leg. That they are going to say, I can see everything is changing and all the kind of things. So the Buddha says, when the meditation go to the middle sector, when the meditation becomes successful, there are 6 michaditi. 6 wrong interpretation can happen. It is happening only for the successful meditators. In Sinhala we call the diabetes and pressure we call Nambukara ladder. It's happening for the high class people. So meditators also have 6 wrong views. Each and every meditation report you can pick it and say this is under such view. So our fellow meditators, everything is to understand who am I, what am I. By giving my report, you have to reflect back and see, I am started with no self. Oh, I am going to destroy self. Oh, I am going to start with the self and going to the non-self. I am going to the non-self, non-self. The Buddha is so clearly mentioned, it is not with the non-meditators. They are not mad. No. Only this madness happened to the successful meditators, analyzing the 62 wrong views. In Analayo's book it says 49 wrong views happened for the successful samatha yogis. The balance 13 is for the quick-wit people, wise people. So you're understanding whether you are samatha or you are a vipassana and what kind of a trap. So that is the basic tenets of the vipassana. You know you are going to get into the trap, but during the time of the Buddha, if you know this is the trap, with the help of the co-practitioners, with the help of the Dhamma, what a kind of a thing, because so far we have came blindly, now you are going to understand it. So sometimes they are being taught as vidarsana upaklesha, or these perversions of the mind, and no one can face it. Unless otherwise you are a believer of the Buddha, believer of Dhamma, then you can some or the other deal with it, face with it, but still with difficulties. But that is the only time in the aeons of time we are directly dealing with the disease. So far we were treating with the symptoms. Now we are going to see the root. It's very, very scientific, very, very good and beautiful in the middle and good in the beginning and the middle and end result. That's what the Buddha is emphasizing here. End result, no sufferer. The person understands slowly diminish, tapering off. Ultimately, the day you become enlightened, there's no person to throw a party. There had been so much of people enlightened in this dispensation. Not a single person, you know, your birthday party and daughter's party, many parties, you all are party-going type of mentality. But such a great achievement. But the achiever is not there. No party. Such a beautiful. So I am going to end the session today. Giving all information, what you all are doing is quite a great thing. So have this understanding of the Dhamma, and it is ever evolving together with you, together with your meditation. So this is the only living beings. All the others are dead and gone. All the others are in a sleep. All the others are in a dream. So try to wake it up, try to diligent, try to be vigilant. With that reminding, I would like to sum up the day's talk. Thank you very much for listening.